Hello viewers, Super GT here. Another week, another set of races on Gran Turismo Sport. Let's jump in to Group 3 around Fuji. Daily Race C of the week. 12 laps, 20 cars. Let's go and do it, shall we? This is our first race of the new week. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's nothing new, is it? So we jump out for some practice laps. Now, the one thing I wanted to do is not actually complete a lap. I wanted to start at the back of the pack, learn the race, and have some fun with it. So if you're new to the channel, get yourself subbed. Alternatively, I can't tell you what to do, so just do what you want. We're going to start therefore 17th as a result of not practicing or not completing a lap. For this race we have to use medium and soft tyres, and because we're starting towards the back we're going to opt for the hardest available, the medium. And we have 30 seconds to try to get used to these tyres, because I did all of my practice on the soft tyre. Therefore we do have to just slightly adjust the way we drive onto these different tyres. We're slightly quicker than that German behind, but that's all we can go on there in terms of my pace for that little practice on the mediums. Okay, so a good mix of different cars in this one. We'll try to overtake as many of them as possible, starting in a lowly 17th out of 20. Well, we have 12 laps of the Fuji circuit to go to try to make it up. Quite an interesting circuit, this one. Very long straight. The straight is about 1 mile long, just under a mile, 1.5 kilometers roughly. And therefore it is crucial to get in the slipstream on this straight, especially on Gran Turismo Sport. We all know how OP the slipstream is. Okay, so into turn 1. Oh my goodness, we have a couple of crashes already, and we're going to gain 2 positions. So these guys already crashing out on turn 1, lap 1 of a 12 lap race. I mean, come on guys, at least get to turn 2. All the pros get to turn 2 before they start crashing. So that's a lesson learnt for them. Hopefully they'll make it to the second corner next time. So right up behind Conster, in fact, ramming him through the apex of the turn. And we have a nice battle brewing between many drivers up in front here as we head down towards the third sector, the dreaded third sector of Fuji. Around the outside of Conster here, it's going to give us the inside for turn 11. We're going to go side by side across the curb here. I've just got the position, have I? Around the outside, we're still side by side. Good racing, and you'll find that at this track, this final sector really does produce a lot of overtakes, a lot of overtaking, a lot of defending, a lot of chaos. You name it, it happens here. Through the final corner onto the back straight, onto the main straight. Here we go then, into the slipstream. We are half a second behind, so we are within range. In the Viper here, Dodge Viper GTSR, not the best in a straight line. Therefore, it is ultra crucial for me to make sure that I am within the tow, and I am just beginning to lose it as the Corvette ahead has the slipstream of the Nissan GTR, probably the quickest car in a straight line, and therefore should be strong around this track. Okay, looking at the radar there for a brief split second. Very distracting when you're trying to look at the apex and someone's darting in at a rate of knots slightly faster than they probably ought to be. But we keep 13th place. That was a good lap number 1, 17th up to 13th, especially on the medium tyre, the harder of the 2 available. Therefore you probably expect to not really move forward too much, but we'll take it. We'll take 4 positions gained. If we keep doing that, we'll be in the lead within a couple of laps. Unlikely though that that's going to happen. Down the hill then towards turn number 10. And I'm just beginning to get slightly dropped. Looking at the fight there for about 5th or 6th, it's very close. I mean, we're pretty much nose to tail in a big group here. In a snake through sector 3. And that's good news. That's good news. It means more potential for overtakes in the very near future. Belgian driver very wide. I almost follow him off. Conster on my left-hand side now as we go in towards the final corner of the lap. Just trying to make sure we get a good exit here. Get off the turn nicely. Fully in the slipstream of the Nissan GTR. Perfect. That's exactly where we need to be. As we hurtle down the straight. End of lap number 2. 10 more to go. Still deciding when to move over onto the soft tyre. You can see the difference in speed here. The Viper just simply doesn't have the straight line speed. GTR goes flying through up into 11th. I'm going to go for the outside line and go for the old switcheroo on the Corvette here. And I'm just deciding which side to go. We're going to go to the left, which will be the inside of turn number 3. Can we sneak our way through here alongside the Spaniard just ahead? Try it. It's not really quite going to work because we now have to go through 100R on the outside. This is a possible move. But he is just beginning to edge his dominance ahead. And then I'm just run out of road and have to just back out. He has a very poor exit there on the exit of the corner. It's going to put him on the defensive going down the hill then into the braking zone of turn 10. The hairpin on the brakes nice and late. We've committed and we're going to go in for a very, very robust move. Defending driver turning across at the same time, and once you're committed, you're in. And we continue up into 12th position. Look at this group: 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th position at the front of this train, and we are in 12th. So a very long train, a couple of cars behind as well. So lots of defending going on at the front of the pack. Looks like the Aston Martin DBR9 heading this train. Not the best car for handling, and that car is, well, let's put it this way, I've seen aircraft carriers go around corners quicker than that thing. So he's going to really be struggling in that final sector. Across the line, end of lap 3, beginning of 4. Now we have people going all over the place into the braking zone. I'm just trying to pick my line and go deep, go for the cutback. I think in that situation, try and get a good exit. If there's no move available on the way in, nothing's going to quite happen here. So I'm just going to back off slightly. Let the guy ahead just settle back into the racing line. That will bring us both closer to the pack in front rather than fighting side by side through that corner. And he's going to try to go up the inside here. Is the Spaniard against the Belgian driver. And we're going to sweep around the outside here. Go for the move into the braking zone. Oh, bit of contact on the way in. Not the cleanest move of all time. But we do go up a position into 11th. CNF fake taxi all over the grass up ahead in the Porsche. As once again, coming down towards the danger zone, which is the braking zone for turn 10. This is where it all begins to kick off. And Spaniard back up the inside in the Corvette. It's all kicking off here with the Aston Martin. A couple of cars very slow off the turn. And we're going to gain 2 positions, maybe 3 here around the outside of the Nissan GTR. GTR just does not quite have the handling. King Russ all over the AstroTurf. Up the inside then. Up into 8th position. We've gained 3 there. In fact, the guy behind going into turn 10 is the guy now in front in 7th. So he's gained many positions indeed. Here comes a German out of nowhere in the Aston Martin. He's going to bin it completely on the exit. He went for the move, and that was a disastrous move for me because, as you can see, the gap to Spaniard up in front opens up to 1.3. I'm out of the slipstream, and therefore I decide, actually, this is the time to go into the pit lane. I've lost the tow. If I stay out and the guys behind me just engulf me in their group, then we're going to lose so much time. I just need to come in, put these softs on. I have no idea at this point in time if this is the correct call, if this is too late, too early. Consta went in at the end of lap 3, presumably from the medium onto the soft. We're going to go in the end of lap 4, and Consta has gained massively. In fact, he is in 13th, I'm in 15th, and he's at least 4 seconds ahead, I would say. Probably about 6 seconds ahead. That just shows you how much time he's gained by undercutting everyone there. That's the fastest lap of the race, 38.2. That was a very good decision, actually. And when you start at the back, you do have to consider that just fighting everyone for so much of the race does just lose you so much time. You do have to be very cautious with that. So lots of factors you always have to consider in a race. You know, the slipstream, the tyre wear. Do you want to be fighting in a group? Are the people around you willing to work with you? Or are you fighting with them and losing time? These are the things you always have to be thinking of, and it's never the same in any 2 races. You know, I could do this race, Fuji 12 laps in these cars, I could do it 100 times, and you know, they would probably just never be quite exactly the same in the way that they play out. You always have to be analysing everything as you're going along. So at this point here, this is an important phase of the race, even if it seems quite boring because there's no one immediately in front of me. These laps here really matter. We've gone on the undercut compared to a lot of the cars ahead. and therefore we do need to put in some faster laps. This lap coming up should be my fastest lap of the race because it's on the soft tyre and it's my first full lap on the soft tyre. Therefore, the tyre wear isn't too bad at this point. So let's see what we can do. Going for the nice late apex here. I think it's turn 1. Could have perhaps gone the power a little bit earlier. And the group up in front are 3 or 4 seconds ahead. But we're just going to be playing this one nice and patient. It's very easy to get a little bit frustrated at this point when there's no one quite there to gain, to catch up on. But we just have to be nice and patient and just wait for our time to come. We're not even halfway into the race yet, so we've got plenty of time for this race to come to us. The leaders, a good 20 seconds ahead, 26 seconds ahead, yet to pit, so that gap will come down as we head into turn 10. We're half a second up on our PB, which at this point in time is a 38.9, so we can definitely go quicker. We can perhaps get into the 37s if we get this final sector right, and begin to just reel in this group up in front. Now, what I did want to ask at this point in time is what everyone thinks about the GT7 multiplayer. We haven't heard much about it as some of the guys at the front go into the pits. What your thoughts will be on GT7. I mean, we haven't heard much. We don't know what it's going to be like. Hopefully it is a big improvement on GT Sport. Fake Taxi running wide onto the AstroTurf. That's good news as he was just beginning to catch up. A couple of cars with this yellow flag and the Spaniard actually getting a penalty as he goes into the pit lane. So double whammy for him. Fastest lap of the race there, 37.7. Fake Taxi behind goes quicker a couple of seconds later, 37.3. But we're on the right track here, so Fake Taxi just behind, certainly a threat for our position here. We're up into 8th position at this point, after a couple of guys go into the pit lane there, almost losing the car on the exit curve on the AstroTurf, which is pretty much deadly at Fuji. You really do not want to be running your tyres onto the dark green. This light green stuff there is kind of okay. At the end of lap 7, see what the situation is here. Up into 7th, there is going to be a car just coming out of the pit lane. There it is. Are we going to get ahead? We should do. He's got a penalty. That is almost certainly for hitting the wall on the pit entry. Very easy to do that as you overcommit on the way in. And we're just going to get ahead. I mean, crucial there to get that position ahead of someone who's got a penalty. So we don't have to worry about them, at least for the time being. They do have fresh tyres. I don't know which ones. Presumably mediums. But I don't know. We're just going to focus on our lines here. Just try to pull away. The good thing is that he is engaged in a battle with Fake Taxi, which is, in fact, Fake Taxi goes through there, up into 8th. But before I interrupted myself, I was going to ask about GT7 multiplayer. We haven't heard really anything about it, which is kind of a weird situation. We've heard a lot about the single player. It seems that GT7 will be primarily focused on the sort of the old school experience of the Gran Turismo single player mode. But of course we all hope, for those of us who do like to have a good online race, we hope for some good online racing in GT7. We hope for a good system and perhaps something a little bit more in depth than the daily races that we have in Gran Turismo Sport, which are very good. They've kept us occupied for this many years, but they do sort of lack variety. It's very clear to say. Now the guy ahead serves a penalty. The gap was about 2.6, and I think he only had a 0.5 second penalty, so we'll see how much time he loses. I mean, at the start of a long straight, it's basically the worst place you can have a penalty zone. So I mean, that should be a real deterrent to not getting. That should be a real deterrent to getting penalties on the track, because you lose more at this track than you would at other places. So that gap comes down to about 1.3 by the time we get to turn 1. So we pretty much halved the gap, and we have just under 4 laps now to try and gain 6th place. Yes, you can see that just in front of us, tantalisingly close, is our position of P6. We're going to try and gain it here. From 17th on the grid, we've gained 10 so far. This is going rather well. And will we be able to gain any more beyond 6th place? Hard to tell. They do look like slightly too far away at this point in time. They may begin to go off the tyres on the guy in 5th and 4th. But my main priority right now is this guy in 6th. Through the final sector, this is crucial. He's also driving a Viper. Pretty sure on mediums, this is essentially a battle between worn softs and fairly new mediums. And we are definitely gaining it. I need to get within or under 3/4 of a second. We all know that. On the exit of the final corner, let's see if we've done it. No, not quite. In fact, just tantalizingly close to doing it. And that just shows you the fine differences. We actually miss a shift there and lose even more time. Fake Taxi closes in to just above 3/4 of a second. So this race very much hangs in the balance. I could very easily gain a position here if I get this dead right. I could also lose a position, maybe a couple of positions. There's 3 cars very close behind. And therefore this race, it's hanging on a thread right now. It could go either way. We have to make sure that we just gain a couple of tenths. That's all I need, a couple of tenths. And once we're onto the back straight, onto the main straight, at about 6 or 7 tenths behind, or closer, then we've done our job. It's very wide there, is the Spaniard. Gap comes down to 6 tenths. Okay, we're in with a shout now. Into the final sector, the handling area of the track, the slow, cumbersome corners. Turn 10 here. Back end kicking round here as we've gone for the rear bias to protect the front tyres of this Viper. Into the long looping right. And then look at that, his lines all over the place. Into this turn here, I just get visually distracted by the car in front, sort of just not looking at the corner, I was looking at him instead. We almost, I mean, that was so close to going completely off the track there. Once you're on that AstroTurf, it's like you're on ice. And we luckily just managed to recover it. We luckily managed to stay within slipstream as well. So that could have really gone a lot worse. Fake Taxi very close behind, 3 tenths now. Cross the line to begin lap 11. Only 2 laps to go now at this point. Trying to spot our braking zone. Braking point, 150 board. There it is. Get that right. And he's braked really, really cautiously. We're just going to throw it out the inside. And he's been caught napping there completely. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best place to be because we have one more time to go down the main straight in its entirety. Therefore, if he stays within slipstream range, he could easily just jump back past me. So this lap is very crucial. Fake Taxi goes through and he's gone up into 7th. And I think he seems to be more of the threat right now. That Spaniard, perhaps on the mediums and just not really driving too well on them. And he's just beginning to fall backwards, as you can see there as we look behind. So this sector here, absolutely crucial to whether or not we finish 6th or 7th. Fake Taxi 9 tenths behind. He only has to beat me by 2 tenths through this sector. And he has a very good shot on the final lap of getting past me. So straight line in the exit there. Over to the left. A little bit wide there. Come back for that late apex on the power. And let's try not to make that same mistake here. It seems as though my car was very good for handling. It obviously lacked top speed. But through this final sector, it seemed very, very good indeed. And therefore, I just had to really capitalise on this part of the circuit. On the exit then, let's see what it is. Let's see what the situation is as we go out onto the main straight. 1.0 seconds. So we have done just enough. The Porsche, which is being driven there by Fake Taxi, good on his tyres typically, but he doesn't seem to be able to make much of an impression at this point in time. By the end of the lap, this is the final sector of the final lap. Again, he's just hovering about 9 tenths to a second behind, and he wasn't quite able to make that full impression. There is always one last opportunity into the final corner of the lap because of just how open that final corner is. There's so many line interpretations you can make through this final corner, which is just coming up here. Luckily, though, we just managed to open up the gap, 1.3 seconds, and there's just no chance of that overtake happening. So we're going to come through. At the end of all of that, at the end of 20 minutes of racing, we're going to finish in 6th place in our customary position to solidify this as very much a Super GT video. But there you go. Really hope you enjoyed that. That was a very fun race. My first race of the morning, of the week, and it was a very fun one, 17th up to 6th. I think we could have done a lot better if we qualified, but that was fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you get subbed on the channel, subscribe, all of that good stuff, hit the like button. Yada, yada, yada. I'll catch you next time. Have a nice day. Goodbye.